All right, Sasha, can you give us a little introduction to your company and your products?
Sure. My name is Sasha Aiken. I'm the engineering manager of the search team at Redfin. And Redfin is an online web real estate agent. So the idea is we pull together information from lots of different MLSs, and we show that information on a map. We make searching really easy, and we let people find the houses they want to find. We help them get into those houses and tour those houses. And then when they want to put an offer on them, they can come to us, and we have agents who will help them make the offer, go through escrow, do all the things you need to do to buy a house. But we only charge half of what traditional real estate agents charge. Because of the efficiencies we have on the web, and because people are doing a lot of their own search, as people really want to do these days, our agents are able to be incredibly much more efficient than traditional real estate agents. A traditional real estate agent only does 6 or so deals a year. Our agents can do that many in a month. And so we use Google Maps and other APIs to make search hopefully as easy as possible for our customers.
All right. So tell us a little bit about your decision to use the Google platform for your product.
Sure. Our decision to use Google was interesting. We actually, when I started, we were using a proprietary Flash client. Redfin actually started doing listings on a map before there were easily available Maps APIs. And we had what I like to call the peril of the first mover. It's a first mover disadvantage, really. Because basically, it was actually before I got there, or sort of this happened. It was a Seattle-only business, and they actually sourced the satellite imagery, created image pyramid tiles, created a proprietary Flash client, built the whole thing, and were showing listings on a map. And people in Seattle thought this was really cool, it was popular in Seattle, but then Google Maps API came out, and it was really easy to put listings on a map, and we were sort of at a disadvantage. After I started, we actually switched to Virtual Earth API, and we were on that for 2 years. But we switched to Google in November or so, November, December, and the number one reason was speed. We put a lot of things on the map. We put up to 500 listings on the map at a time. And we're a very heavyweight AJAX site, and we know that speed is incredibly important. So we had all along done tests, Virtual Earth versus Google, and eventually we found a way to add pushpins or markers. Pushpins is the VE term to add markers really fast to the map at Google. We talked about it today at I/O at the performance session. And when we found that we could do it much faster in Google, we called up the team and started talking about doing it.
Were there any technical challenges that you had using the platform?
I mean, no more than you would. So I wouldn't say there were tremendous technical problems. The biggest, I think, insight we had to get was how to add a ton of things to the map performantly. That's our single biggest technical challenge. But I actually, once we figured that out in sort of a researchy kind of way, I actually spent a long weekend where I ported our site from Virtual Earth to Google Maps, and we had to spend another 2 weeks or so polishing and getting it all right, but it basically worked after the end of the weekend of just me working on it. It was sort of one of those meth-fueled coding weekends of craziness, but it actually I was surprised at how quickly things went.
All right. So you mentioned performance. Talk to me about the performance of the platform.
Sure. I mean, I think it's Google puts a lot of emphasis on performance, and that's something we really value. The images are on a CDN. The script is much smaller than some competitors. And I'm very heartened as well that V3, which was just announced yesterday, most of the reason behind it, most of the impetus is performance. So modularizing the script, putting up a static image before you can pull down the tiles. These are all great things. And it matters to me that they're thinking about performance constantly. So overall, it's been really great.
All right.
As I say, we did have trouble adding tons of things to the map, but we were able to do a custom overlay and make that work much faster than we thought we'd be able to.
Okay. So how do the maps improve your user experience?
How do the maps improve our user experience? It's an interesting question, because in some ways, we're known for the maps being our user experience. I mean, I've said this before, the old saying in real estate is the three most important things are location, location, location. You've all heard this, right? But we kind of took that as what our UI should be too. Our UI is very app-like. It's not a long page. It scales to the browser size. No scroll bars, and it has this big map right in the center. And that's really how you define your search. You can type in a neighborhood, say, the Mission, for example, and it will draw a polygon. It will go there and draw a polygon on the map. But you can refine that. You can zoom in, zoom out, and every time you move the map or pan, we do another search. We go back to the database and we pull new records. It's almost a weird question to say how does it help the user interface, because it really just is the user interface. Now, there's a thing on the side that shows you the details of a house, and there's a list below, and we find that it's really important to display them spatially, but also have a list so that people can sort of scan in another way. But by and large, we're known as the company that uses the map as their main user interface.
So what do you see in the future of mapping?
What do I see in the future of mapping? I think there are a lot of interesting things coming in the future. I think, once again, performance is hopefully going to get better. It's been interesting to hear all these people talk about HTML5, which I think is great. I'm still wondering what we're going to do about IE6, and I don't know. I haven't heard anybody give me a good story on that one yet. So I think performance, being able to show more things. I think intelligent, smart, performant, and good feeling algorithms for clustering are going to be something that hopefully is happening soon. I think a lot of people are working on that from different angles. It's actually, I've just been working on it this week, so it's shockingly hard. It's shockingly hard to get a UI that really feels good in clustering, that it stays consistent and maps to the way the user thinks about how it should work. I was just talking to somebody else from another company, and he was saying that they actually implemented a clustering UI 2 years ago, and they had to get rid of it because users didn't like the way it worked. It's one of those problems that the more you think about it, I think the harder it gets. So I think good clustering and figuring out how to display large amounts of information is going to be a really interesting thing. And obviously, rich media kinds of things. How much is going to become more Earth-like and more flashy and more sort of HTML5y. I think is probably one of the other big things for mapping.
All right, Sasha, I want to thank you for your time today. Hope you have a great show.
Great, thanks. I've been having a great time.